Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all the new subscribers. There's been quite a few. Of course, I've been gone for over a month. I went down to my Florida house and took a much needed vacation. Did some running around in Big Lake George and the St. Johns River, swam with the manatees, that kind of thing. And then when I got back up here, I was ready to make some videos, and we had a big windstorm come through here, blowing down all kind of trees and just making a mess out of everything. And so I had to take care of that. I have taken in a few outboards here for repair. I'll show you a couple of those that I'm starting on right now. And so the weather should start turning here. I think we go to daylight savings times here in about a week or so. So I'm sorry that I haven't been able to post anything. It's just with the vacation and then the storm and everything, just things got a little backed up, a little hectic. So I'm back up now, and the season should be kicking off here within the next couple weeks. And so I'll show you this little guy that a repeat customer brought in, and some of the things he's done to it. I get them in this kind of condition, you know, the owner wants to fix it and they tear into them and just tear everything apart. So that's what it looks like. We had a little go on that. I'm going to do a compression check before I repair any of these other things that are wrong with this. You'll see that. So first thing I noticed was I got to looking around, and I've got a dead flashlight here. Let's see if I can find a not so dead one. Well, I'll be right back. Let me find one. Alright, the first thing I noticed right off the get-go was this wire right here. It comes from out under the coil. I put my big Milwaukee drill on it. The plugs are out of it. I've got the spark checker hooked up. And so I spun over the engine. I didn't have any spark, so I suspected that was the ground wire coming from the CDI unit. So before I went any further, instead of taking that off, I just took a little wire clip, jumper wire, connect it to the block, the other end to the torn wire. And now that puts that CDI back to ground, if that's what the problem was, which I'm almost sure it was. So now let's watch the spark checker. I'll move it further forward if I can somewhere. If I can find either spot. Oh, for goodness sakes, there's got to be somewhere. I'll see what I can do. Stick any little old screw or something. Clip onto there, clip onto there. There. Whoops. I'm trying. Let's see. We'll get it in there. Wow, really? Hopefully you'll be able to see the spark check. Yeah, you can see that pretty good if I don't get in the way too much. So I'll stand back behind here, but watch right here, we should have spark now. The reason why that one's kind of dropping out is it was arcing at the plug here. Let me get this out of the way and you'll see we got good strong spark on 2 of them. So, she's got good spark. Of course, I'll have to repair the ground to the CDI. That's no problem. Alright. Take off the spark checker. Then let's get us a compression gauge. This is going to be the top cylinder first. Alright. So, let me go ahead and turn this over. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's 120 on the top, so that's plenty good. Now let's look at the bottom. If you're wondering the year, this is about a 1994 15 horse Evinrude that doesn't get the best treatment. The owner lives in a remote setting. I think. Hardly get it in there. But anyway, he lives in a really remote section of the island. He only comes into this town about once a month, if that, because he's pretty much off the grid and self-sustaining out there. So I'm sorry it's taken me so long get this thing to thread in, but I finally got it that time. Alright. You see she's on zero, zeroed out. Let's spin her over. This is your bottom cylinder now. Let's see what we got. And we also got dead on 120. So that lets me know we got compression, we got spark. We probably got what it takes to make the little girl run. But got some work to do prior to, because the owner was going to fix things himself. And so here's what we got going. This is the hood bonnet. This is his recoil spring. It's in good shape though. Bolts, nuts, pulley, friction disc, and that's the catch. And so I just got to put all that back together. So I'll get my little schematic there and give that a glance, and then I'll come back as soon as I get my manual and everything, and we'll put this thing back together. Be right back. Okay, well, I wanted to show you a couple of things. This is the recoil that he had, tore all apart, and he was missing the one clinch nut here that really ties the whole thing together. Luckily I had one. Alright, now you got this little, they call it a spring shield or a friction plate, friction disc. It goes right in there. Right there is that little circle. I should have my flashlight just a minute. And keep in mind this is a plastic part, so, but you can see there's a little circle right there, and there's a little notch for where one end of the spring goes. Okay, and there's a little bit of that circle. Well, we got to get that spring in there. Clean that out a little bit. So we got to get the spring, which is here, into that circle and to that notch. Now, I have a big vise over there, and I have another device called a spring winder. But I have pretty strong hands, so I just take a little small pair of needle nose vise grips. I look at the size of the cup hole there, and I just generally wind them and pull in my hands. And then I do that. I can see I'm going to need about 1 inch sticking out or so. Then I take my vise grips and clamp on them. Yes, I should be wearing eye protection. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if that's going to make. Yeah, I think it will. Okay. So again, you've got that little cup, that little area for the spring, the slot, and I'm going to take one of my wire brushes real quick and brush this thing out a little bit. Just get all that out of there. And then I'll put a little bit of Lubricate 105 or lithium grease in there. So, as soon as I find it there. Oh, we got some grease in there now. Alright, so now we got to get that spring in there. So you saw the cup, you see the spring. Now I got to very gently make sure it's all pushing down. Pretty close. There, got it. Okay. Now, with the vise grips on, that's how it's going to look. Hopefully you're getting that. I got it in the cup. Now I can release the vise grips and it'll be in there. Whoops. I'm going to take it back out. Which is no problem either. Wiggle him back out. I've got to put a friction disc. There. Now we'll put it back in. There we go. Take off my vise grip now, very carefully. Let the spring gently fit itself into there. And there's what you're after. You can see the spring's locked in right there. Alright. And the spring is now in the cup. The friction disc is now in place. Okay. These other parts. Go ahead and take it apart so you can see. Alrighty. On the end of this, you can see those little nipples that stick up there. There's little teeth, little dogs, whatever you want to call them. They have to go through the flywheel catch and into those two indentions there. So, well, I don't know, that's kind of tough to see. I'll move it a couple directions. But there's two little indentions. And then this catches them. Hopefully you saw that. All right. Now you've got your dog paw that catches the indentions in the flywheel. These little wires got to be hooked up like so. This spring set up. The little hooks face up that way on both the wire spring and the clutch paw. So the hooks dip down and come up like that. And you can see the little tips right there. Well, also there's a groove in this thing. That groove that's around there is where this thing sits. This right here, that area there. you got to put that in there. All right, so you got to lift it up a little bit. Get this spring fit in that groove, then push it in the hole. So, hopefully you can see that. Of course, my big fat thumb's in the way. But that little arch is in that groove there. Okay, and that's going to activate the dog paw. You see that? Ooh, ooh, when it gets pulled. So, now, this has to get fitted into here. Catch those two, and this has to catch the top of that spring. Right there, that little crack right there. Right there, has to catch that. So, let's see if I can get all that together, and then once that's done, this screw and nylock nut will hold it all together. So, let's see how I do. Well, that spring sure looks like it's way off. But we're going to try. First, I'll try and catch that. Hard to believe I did. Not yet. Tell you what I'm going to try maybe is catch the spring first. Then I'll put this back in. Oh, I know what I got going. I got this spring-loaded. There's a spring-loaded catch that catches these tabs so you can't start it in and out gear. That's what's causing me trouble. And that just pinches out of there with a set of needle nose pliers. If I can find my needle nose pliers. There's some. So let me take this safety catch out. Safety interlock, as they call it. I can put that back once I get it all put back together. Like I said, it's just a little pin and a spring. There's that. There's what it is. It's just a little catch. The spring keeps it pointing toward that way, and then that little pin goes through everything. Pretty straightforward there. So now, let's see if I can catch that spring. Not yet. So I'm going to have to adjust the spring. So, what's happening is this spring hook right here is going to have to be maneuvered closer to the center of the wheel so I can catch it. So, take a pair of needle nose, go back behind it, and just kind of bend it in some more. I don't think that was enough either. Look how wide that thing is. It's about the size. I'll need a little more, I think. Yeah. Try again. Not yet. Not catching it. You'll know it when you catch it. You'll feel the spring tension. Okay, the spring popped back out of there, so I had to stop and rewind it. You can see it's in there now, and the tab for catching right in here is much closer to the center now. So now when I load this in, it will catch there. So now it's, well, it was. Let me get it a little closer yet. Aren't springs fun? Alright, here's my little catch. Put it in there. If I can get it. Come on now. Oh. Yeah, I'm going right there. Thought I was going the wrong way there for a minute. Gotta bend it a little closer, get it over toward that middle. till it catches. Alright, always check the batteries before you start making a video. The camera died. But anyway, this is going to be part one of this little engine here. It's getting a little bit long, so but that's the basics to putting these little plasticky pull starts back together. You can see it's all good to go now. So like I said, he's got other things. I want to get some 3M, put this back on his bonnet, do a little cleaning up, and then of course we got issues with the engine itself, the power pack. I need to splice a ground wire back on there and so forth, and who knows what else. The carburetor may be gummed up. So this is going to be a part one of this little 15 thoroughly used and abused 2-cycle Evinrude 15. So once I get all this all glued back up and everything on his bonnet and everything bolted back on and so forth, I'll make another video tomorrow on let's see what we find on the power head. So again, welcome to all the new subscribers, and thanks for watching.